What up, YouTube land? Here we are again with old Trixie. Remember this old crazy dog? Only a face a mother could love, right? Don't you? I ain't gonna kiss that old doggy. You guys kidding me? Alright, let's head out in the back, the sanctuary. I call it my sanctuary back here. My little old shop. Simple man shop, right? It's a little 20 by 20 that I built so I could play with my cars. Hopefully you guys got a little spot that you can at least be out of the sun and wrench on your car. This is about us going on a journey about turning a 57 Chevy that my dad bought in the 80s into a simple man's mild custom, right? Something we can enjoy, something that we can jump into and drive, and eventually it have AC. We can be comfortable in the summertime, and I want to prove to you guys that it can happen, you know, on a budget, not fancy tools, not a big shop, just the drive to do it, and us to always try to stay positive. You guys staying positive out there, I'm always trying, right? So we're gonna go on this journey together, and I want also to inspire people to get up off of the couch, right? As a society, we're very sedentary. We just sit there on our rump, man. And so this is hopefully inspiration for people many ways. Get up, move, feel better about themselves, see something come from their work, and prove to themselves and learn, right? I think we should never stop learning, and that's what I try to do. So anyways, let's meet Poochie, right? That's a crazy name, right? I'll tell you about that crazy name. But this is old Poochie. She looks pretty good, right? There's a lot of dents, scratches, and all kinds of metal work that needs to happen on this thing that you can't see on the camera, but we'll go through that. Anyways, this is her good side. We will pan around and look at her bad side. You know, everybody, they say that the camera, when we're in, we've got a good side and a bad side. I'm not sure which one of me. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, we'll work around. We'll look at the other side. What I did is I've stripped all the paint. I started to do the body work, and I plan to put it in epoxy primer so it seals it. If you just regular primer, if you just spray it with regular primer, it doesn't protect it from the elements. You know, it can still absorb moisture. So you want to put it in epoxy primer, and that will protect it. And what I plan to do is basically get that side in epoxy primer and test fit like bumpers and stuff. I got a clean new, it's not a new bumper, it's an old bumper that has been re-chromed, and I bought it off of the marketplace. That's where I grab all my stuff. I try to anyways. I don't try to buy anything new. And so I'm gonna basically test fit bumpers, trim. There's a lot of stainless trim on this car, and there's adjustment on all of that stuff. It just doesn't go right back. You got to play with it, right? There's a lot of fiddling with these older cars. So we're gonna get an epoxy primer, fit bumpers, stainless trim, you know, make sure that door mechanisms are working well and all that good stuff, and maybe just drive it for a while. You know, it'll be gray on one side and painted on the other, but like I like to enjoy my cars. It's a vehicle. That's where I love to work on them, but I also like to drive them, you know. And I can't understand those guys that they'll build a car and they don't even drive it. They put a lot of money into it. A lot of people got the money to throw at this stuff, but and then they don't use it much, you know. it just sits there. They're afraid that it's going to get scratched or whatever, or whatever, but they've got a $100,000 pickup that they'll jump into, and they don't worry about getting a scratch when they go to Walmart, So we're gonna go on this journey together, turning this 57 Chevy into a mild custom. It's kind of rare to see a 57 Chevy that is given the mild custom touch. Let's say a lot of them just restored, that brought back to what they were off the showroom, basically. So, but I'm into the kind of mild custom deal. Mild because I can't go wild. I don't have the dollars for the wild, right? So we're going to do mild and enjoy it. I love for people, as I'm driving my cars and stuff, I get a lot of compliments on all my stuff, even though it's just, they're fun, but they're just drivers, and enjoy it. I'm blessed. I'm super blessed to have what I have and do what I do. And so anyways, enough of that. Let's check out this other side where I've stripped it. And we'll go this way. I've stripped the paint and we're doing body work on it. Right? That is Poochie's ugly side, you might say, right? So we're gonna do this together, staying positive. We're gonna work through the mistakes. I'm a human. I'm faulty. I mess up a lot, but I'm not gonna hide that from you guys. I'm gonna show you where I've messed up, and then maybe it'll prevent you guys from making that mistake. Help you guys out in that way. We'll prove together that this can be done, and you can do it too, right? But I appreciate you guys listening to me, tuning in. If you could subscribe, like, comment, it'd be great. I want to hear you guys' feedback on this deal. Also, before I get gone, I've got a question for you guys. As far as it's kind of a deep question. Does God exist? Does he really exist? The Bible tells us that God has given us plenty of evidence to believe that he does exist. And I believe if you hold a belief, that you should have evidence for it. Our society kind of says, well, if you believe it, it's true, and I don't quite agree with that. If you don't have the evidence for a belief, I think it's silly to believe it, and so I'm just a reasonable guy, simple man, right? And so I kind of went down the journey of investigating whether God was real, and there's so many belief systems out there. There's which one do I just pick one and hope, or is there any evidence for me to believe one way or the other? So but we'll go we'll dive into that a little bit. The Bible, there's a lot of historical evidence that supports it. There's a lot of geographical evidence that supports it. So it's given me enough evidence for me to believe it, and there's the element of faith, right? That word faith, right? God doesn't just come up and shake your hand and say, hey, I'm God, now you've got all the evidence. So there's an element of us trusting that there is a God, and that he exists, and what does that look like? Faith. What are the benchmarks of when we say, well, we truly believe something? Is there evidence for that? Do people see the evidence that we believe that God exists? In our lives and our day to day, the way that we carry ourselves. So, it's kind of deep. That's not what this channel's about, but I just wanted to pose that. But anyways, there's old Poochie. But I'm gonna sign off. Hey, you guys have a good one. As always, love y'all.